Welcome. This is Chapter 4 Study Guide. Let's get at it. So it says the angle measures of an equilateral triangle will be. So remember, an equilateral triangle has all the sides are the same and all the angles are the same. So it's also called equiangular. So it means that each one is going to be 60 degrees for a total of 180. The best name for a triangle with the angle measures of 45, 45, and 90. So this is obviously it has a right triangle. So that's as far as classifying the name. And we also have, if it's 45 and 45, remember the base angles right here are the same, which means that these two are congruent to sides. So remember, this is a right isosceles triangle. Isosceles triangle. Right, because it has a right angle, and isosceles because the two base angles are the same, which means the two legs right there are going to be the same as well. Blank triangles will have one angle measure that is greater than 90 degrees, and the other two is less, so it's an obtuse triangle. Again, just like an obtuse angle is more than 90, this obtuse triangle is going to have one angle that's more than 90 as well. If ABC, triangle ABC and PRQ are congruent, remember all it matters is where they are though in this congruency statement. So it means that if angle R is the last one, it's going to be congruent to angle C. That's why order does matter in those cases. It says for triangle ABC, name the angle opposite of BC. So let's draw a triangle that you have here. And if you have ABC, here is BC that you have here. That's the side. So what is the angle that is opposite? That's going to be angle A. All interior angles of a triangle will have a sum equal to 180 degrees. Every time a triangle right there always adds to 180. Our next one, number 7, says name the legs of the right triangle. So remember, a right triangle looks like this. It has a 90-degree angle, and the legs are the two that are right next to the right angle. The hypotenuse is always the side across from the right angle. So if I'm looking at this, AD would be one leg, and the other one would be DB. DB would be the other leg that you have right here. For ABC, name the vertex. So again, the vertex and then isosceles triangle is always going to be the angle right here in between the two congruent sides. So here's ABC, isosceles triangle. The angle in between the two congruent sides is angle A. And again, I can't say A that I have right here because A would mean the full thing. So I'd say angle BAC. So I got to be careful. BAC, and luckily it told me to use 3 letters they have right there. The base angles of the isosceles triangles are, well, remember, on a base angle, if isosceles triangle like this, the two base angles are going to be these two ones. So in this one, that's going to be these two angles that you have right here. So it's going to be angle ABC, ABC, and angle ACB. ACB. The biggest thing is having that middle one being the vertex, most important one. Alright, so on number 10, it says draw a triangle. So if it says draw one, you don't already have one, draw a triangle. BLT that you have right here. And it tells me angle B, so that angle right there is x plus 42. Angle L right here is 3x minus 18. And angle T right here is negative 2x plus 134. And it wants me to solve for x. Well, it didn't tell me what type of triangle it is, but it gave me all 3 angles. So I know that whenever I add all the angles together, it's always going to equal 180 degrees. So I'm going to add all these together, and they're going to equal 180 degrees. So that's going to give me 4x. That's going to give me 2x that you have right there. And then when I add all of these right here together, that's going to give me 158. So I get plus 158 equals 180. I subtract 158 from both sides, and it's going to give me 180 minus 158. Let's just double check. 22. 2x equals 22. Divide 2 to both sides, and you're going to get x equals 11. Okay, next one says if angle L, this one right here, is 2x plus 49, and angle M is 5x minus 53, solve for angle P. Well, remember, these are my base angles, and it's an isosceles triangle because the two sides are the same. Base angles are always going to be congruent to each other. So that means that they have to be the same. So now I have all three angles. I have 2x plus 49, and there are two of them. So I can times it by 2 or just add it all together. And I have a 5x minus 53. And when I have all these three angles added together, it's always going to equal, triangle equals 180. So I'm going to get 2, 4, 9. It's going to give me 9x. I add up 49 plus 49 minus 53, and that's going to give me 45. So I get a plus a 45 equals 180. So I'm going to go 180 right here. 180 minus 45 equals 9x equals 135. And then divide that by 9, and x equals 15. Okay, but it didn't ask me what x was, it asked me what angle P was. So remember, I got to plug this 15 back into there, and so I'm going to get 30 plus 49, which means angle P right here is going to equal 79 degrees. Alright, here we go. So the next one, I started labeling it. It says AEG, find AEG. It gives me A is 33, E, so this is why we don't label with just one letter a lot of times. Because is E telling me the full thing? Is it telling me this one? I'm assuming it's saying this angle that you have right here. So I'm assuming that you have right here, but again, that's why we use 3 letters. Not the greatest written question, and it gives me AEG. Well, again, if I'm looking at these, I know off the bat these two are a linear pair, which means that 45x minus 23 plus 68, linear pair always adds to 180. So 68 minus 23 is going to give me, I'm going to get 45x plus 45 equals 180. And so I'm going to go 180 minus 45 is 45x equals 135, and then divided by 45, it's going to give me x equals 3. And this is kind of stupid because it asks for AEG. Well, if I know that they have to add up to 180, I could have just done 180 minus 68, and that would have given me 112. Or I could have gone the longer way around and found out what x is, and now I found out x, and I can plug that back in to this equation right here. And that again would have gotten me 112. Either way, you would have gotten it. Not the greatest written question there. Alright, next one. Equilateral triangles. So we should always draw a picture that you have over here. A, B, and C. So here is A, B, C. It's equilateral, which means that all the sides are the same. AB is 3x minus 13. And the perimeter is equal to 33. 33 that you have right here. So again, remember that all the sides are going to be the same that you have right here. So if that is 3x minus 13, this one is 3x minus 13, this one is 3x minus 13, and so we can add these all together, or I'm just going to take a shortcut and just times these by 3, which is going to give me, solve for x, it's going to give me 9x minus 39 equals 33. And then I'm going to add 33 plus 39 is 72. 9x equals 72. And then obviously I'm going to divide, which means that x is going to equal 8. So again, remember, equilateral, all the sides are the same. So that's why I put them equal to each other. That's why I have them all equal the same amount. And it told me the perimeter was 133. Perimeter means all the sides added together, the outside. Alright, next one. It says two triangles are congruent. So let's draw two triangles that are the same. Okay, well those don't look the same, but we're just going to pretend that you have here D, E, F. And remember, they have to go in the same spot, so this is L, K, M. Okay, it tells me that angle D, that angle right there, is 9x minus 61. It tells me angle K, this is 39. Angle L is 5x plus 3. And angle F is 4y minus 12. Okay? And it wants me to solve for x, solve for y. So first thing is, well, if this is 6x minus 63 and D and M are the same ones, D and M are not the same ones, but L and D are the same ones that you have right here, they need to be equal to each other. So I can set these two equal to. Okay, so remember, they're congruent. D and L are congruent to each other. So I'm going to do 9x minus 61 is going to equal 5x plus 3. This is going to give me 4x equals 64. And let's just double check. 64 divided by 4. X is going to equal 16. So here's 16 that you have here. And let's plug, we also need to figure out what y is. So let's plug in the 16. So I'm going to get 5 times 16 plus 3, which 5 times 16 plus 3 means that this angle right here, and I'll do it in a different color, is blue. This angle right here is 83. And if I'm solving for angle M, I get 83 plus 39 is 122. A triangle has to add up to 180, which means that this has to be 58 degrees. Okay, but like, why did I do that though? Because I know that M right here and F are in the same position. They need to be the same. And if I'm solving for y, I know that 4y minus 12 has to equal what M is, and M is 58. So now I can set this up. I'm going to get 58 plus 12 is going to be 70. So I'm going to get 4y equals 70, and then divide both sides by 4, and I got y was 17.5. Cool. Alright, so for these, I would definitely mark the picture up, and then you're going to tell, are the triangles congruent? If so, you're going to state the congruency that you have right here, and tell me what postulate. So T is the midpoint of KE. So KE is a line, so those two lines are the same. And it says KS and ES are the same. So again, it's talking about sides. And you know that ST is the same because of reflexive. So are these triangles the same? Yes, because of side, side, side. And I got to remember, K right here is in the same spot as E, so we got to match these up. E right there is the same. And then T is going to be congruent to T, and S is going to be congruent to S. So I got to make sure I have the order correct. Okay. Next one says T is the midpoint of AU. AU is a line, so it means that these two are going to be the same. C and G are congruent, so let's put those angles are congruent. And again, I know that these angles right here are congruent because they are vertical angles. And now I'm looking, well, are these triangles congruent? They are, because we have angle, angle, side. So I'm going to write angle, angle, side. And remember, it's not angle, side, angle because that side is not in between there that you have right there. And now I'm looking, well, C we said is congruent to G, so I got to make sure those match up. A is going to be congruent to U, and T is vertical, so those are going to be the same. Okay, next one says EAT and REA are right angles. So there's a right angle that you have right here. And then I know that this is reflexive. And I'm thinking, can I solve this? You're thinking, well, Mr. Plummer, didn't we do like the HL theorem? That's true, but remember, we don't know what the hypotenuse is. We don't know if these right here are congruent. We only know one leg and they have a right angle, so we don't have enough information. So we would put not congruent, or not enough information. Alright, next problem says LD and RE. LD bisects RE, so here's RE, and LD bisects it, so it means that these are the same. And it also says that these are parallel. Well, what do we know about parallel? We know that alternate interior angles are congruent, so those are the same. And we know that these are vertical angles, so those have to be the same. And now if I'm looking at this, again, I have an angle, and a side. I'm going to write angle, angle, side. And I got to be careful, because we said D is congruent to L, so I got to make sure that these match up. R is going to be congruent to E, and that means that K has to be congruent to K. Okay. The next one that you have right here, it says C and R are congruent. So let's put these angles are congruent. Those are congruent. A and U are congruent. These two are congruent. And we know that these are vertical angles. So those are congruent. So yeah, these have to be congruent, right? They have all the angles the same. But remember, that's not one of my postulates. I don't have a postulate where I have all three angles that are the same. I need to have a side. So I'd say not congruent. I don't have enough information in order to tell if these two triangles are the same. Alright, 2 proofs left that we have right here. So close. One should be the easiest question you have on your whole test. If it gives you this one, it's given. Easiest. They gave me that. Next says that TD and GD are congruent. Well, how do I know that? Because we just said that D is the midpoint. So this has to be the definition of a midpoint. Midpoint means it's in the middle. See over here. It says D is the midpoint of KR. Well, how would I know that? I only knew that because it told me in the very beginning, which is given. And now I know that KD and RD are congruent. Well, how do I know that? Well, we knew that because D was the midpoint. So again, this is going to be definition of midpoint. Next one says that angle KDT, this angle that you have right here, and angle RDG, that angle right here, are congruent. Well, when they're across from each other like that, they are vertical angles. And vertical angles are always congruent. Next, now it's saying the triangles are congruent. This is where I use one of my shortcuts, or one of those postulates. And what I would do is I would label it. We have a side, an angle, and a side. I would do that. So now when I'm labeling this, how are these congruent? Side, angle, side. So now we just said that the two triangles are the same. Now it wants to know, well, because they are the same, then these sides right here should be the same. And those are corresponding sides. Well, we already know that the triangles are the same, so we know that corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. Just abbreviate, CPCTC. Alright, last one that you have right here. So again, we're just trying to prove the triangles are congruent in this one. So it means I'm probably going to use one of those postulates or something like that. So it says P is the midpoint. Well, again, easy. Given. Easy one. Then it tells me that KP and TP are congruent. So those are congruent. Again, how did I know that? I'm always looking at the one right above, and it told me it was the midpoint. Midpoint means it's in the middle, which means that those two segments have to be the same definition of a midpoint. Next one says H and G are congruent. I'm thinking, well, how did I know that? I only know that because they gave it to me. This is given. Given that you have right here. Next one, HPK, this angle that you have right here, and GPT, or that angle that you have right here, are congruent. Again, we know that this is because of vertical angles are always congruent. Okay, and what I would do is I would make sure that I label this. This is an angle. This is an angle. And this is a side. How are the two triangles the same? Because of angle, angle, side. Make sure it's not angle, side, angle, because the side is not in between the two congruent angles. It's outside, so you have angle, angle, side. And that is it. We did it. Alright. Good luck. You guys will do great. Ask questions if you need to or for the test. See you soon.